Okay, today we're talking about our name, which is weird because I feel like that happened so long ago.
I know. It's crazy because I feel like we've been working because we started talking about this last year with a plan to launch in January, and then like
Mhm.
life just kept happening.
Yeah.
And so it's like we really did talk about the name like literally almost a year ago, it feels like.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, like a year ago, literally. Like I'm looking at the chat now and I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually legitimately a year ago.
Okay, so we put a lot of planning into this, as you can tell.
Yeah, like a year's worth of planning almost.
Yeah. I guess we could tell them who we are. And they weren't roommates.
Yes.
We kind of our intros are
Bad.
chaos more than consistency.
I mean, if you're here and you don't know who we are, you get the vibe in like 5 minutes. So I feel like that's enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're and they weren't roommates. I've gotten one comment privately about the title, which is what prompted me to go, hey, maybe we should talk about this. Because an author friend of mine was like, oh, hey, I know you started a podcast. Like, what is it called again? And I was like, and they weren't roommates. And they were like, kind of laughing, like, that is an interesting and hilarious title. Like, what is that about?
So
So I'm
we
like,
probably should explain it.
yeah, I definitely think we should explain it.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
wasn't our first choice either. Like it was in our top, like it was one of the first ideas we threw out, I think.
so, okay, so I'm looking at the chat and like we were very much trying to think of a name, just kind of proof of concept, like, oh, if we were going to actually do this, what would we call it? And I had looked at some of the other kind of BL or like queer media podcasts and like what their titles were. And I kind of mentioned like doing something that's similar to there's like an Ace podcast called Sounds Fake But Okay, which is like I kind of like the like, kind of fun, silly vibe of it. Like it felt kind of like jokey, right? Um, so I was like, okay, let's kind of stick with that vibe. And I think the first one, actually this was the first thought, like the
It
first
was.
suggestion was I was like, literally my comment here is this is a dumb thought, but what about and they weren't roommates because we could play on the trope and it's kind of silly.
Yeah, which it was perfect and it ended up, I mean, I feel like so rarely do people go with like the first thought. Like a lot of times it's like, okay, we're gonna come up with things and then like later they come up with something better, but I feel like
hmm
the first one is the one that really stuck for us. And
hmm
I think we tried to come up with other things being like, let's kind of like find something better. And it's like, no, but that is the best one to explain who we are.
Yeah, because we did talk about like, oh, maybe we need something that kind of explains what the podcast is a bit more, or is more like related to it. Because we had strangers to meta. We had like only one pod, which is kind of like the only one bed trope. We had what else we have? Second lead syndrome, which was like a high contender. But I don't know, for some reason, and they weren't roommates, just kind of stuck. Like we just kept going back to it.
I think one, I feel like we wanted something that felt tropey because both of us really seem to lean into like describing media by trope and like when I feel like when you or I get like have something we want the other one to watch, the first thing that we go to explain is like here's the tropes that are in it, which are why you will like this.
hmm
And so I think that we very much like go trope first a little bit.
I think too,
So I
like
know what
in
you mean.
our analysis of things, we very much like to look at the tropes and like how they're played with or subverted or used. Like I think that's part of it is like we see like, oh, they have the grumpy sunshine trope, but they're using it differently, or it's not what you would expect or whatever. Like we kind of like to see those differences and how that works.
Yes. Well, and if you look at our backgrounds, like you have always been very deep into like reading and reviewing, reading and like reviewing books and things like that. And so you know the tropes that like are well done, that are well crafted, that are like very marketable, but also maybe when they aren't done as well, or that maybe like it's written to be marketable rather than to make the trope shine. And so like you have a big background in what makes a trope really go well.
Hmm.
And with me being a writer, I really love to like one of my favorite challenges is to be like, okay, I'm gonna go trope first and see how I can subvert it. Like one of my books that I've written is fake dating, and it was like, okay, how can I make this work in a way that feels organic and feels queer? And it was like an ace fake dating story. So it's like, okay, what do I do to make these couple like this couple get together in a way that feels organic when both of them are ace, when both of them are kind of maybe on the aro spectrum, one of them's neurodivergent, like how does that work and navigating
Hmm.
that. So I think like both of us kind of lean heavily into tropes with the like backgrounds that we have in terms of media.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Because, like, because I did do English, we do a lot of analysis. And while we're not necessarily talking about tropes specifically, like, they are always there. Like, sci-fi has certain tropes that are used, or horror has certain tropes that are used. Like, those are always things that exist.
Yes. Well, and I think like we're going to, when we were crafting, because I feel like before we even came up with a name, we kind of crafted ideas of what we would talk about. And we really leaned into here are some concepts of themes that we would want to talk about.
Hmm.
We would want to go deeper into shows with these tropes. We want to kind of deep dive into analysis of these things, and tropes was a big one. So it makes sense that we picked a very tropey name,
Yeah, it does.
but the name also fits us very specifically well, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like on one hand, like for starters, we do not live together. We don't even live in the same country. Like we are
Right.
absolutely not roommates.
Yeah. And they weren't roommates, quite literally.
Exactly. So like there's that aspect where like we just are literally miles and miles apart from each other. So like no way that's happening.
Yeah.
But I think the other one is like the roommates trope. Like, so we even had a whole conversation about this of like, we both love the roommates trope and like the idea of people living together and then falling for each other. But
Mhm.
also, like, that very much would never happen for us. Like, we
No.
don't want to live with other people. We would never be falling in love with somebody that we lived with. Like, it would not happen. This is not going to
Yeah.
happen.
I mean, because we both like very much embody the A of the LGBTQIA
All of the
plus.
A's.
Yeah, we're like, if there is an A in that acronym, we are here for it.
Because I remember like we had that conversation. We were like, "Oh, this is so cute. Oh, like they make dinner for each other. Oh, they accidentally walked on each other having a shower." And then we're both there like, "Yeah, but no, let's no, please no. No, don't do that.
In
No."
real life, not so much. Like for me, I'm like, if someone made me dinner, that would be so great because I don't have the spoons. But also, like, that's not like a romantic thing for
No, it's
me.
not
That's like,
romantic.
man, you're an awesome buddy.
Like, because I think too at the time we might have been watching a few things that were like roommates, like
Yeah.
people living together.
I
And I
know
think,
for sure around that time we were watching Knock Knock Boys,
yeah, and I think
which has
Perfect
multiple
Propose.
roommate pairings.
Yeah, so it
Yes,
was like
Perfect Propose was in there.
yeah. And I was like, this is adorable, but I would hate it.
Yeah. Well, also I feel like we both have kind of that like complex relationship with living with people because both of us do live with someone, but it's like a family member,
Hmm.
not like a roommate. And so that's a
Hmm.
very different sort of thing.
I think too, like it's also like my situation is it is a family member, but we treat each other like roommates. But it's also
Yeah.
like it's a family member. There's no nothing. It's just that's it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like my family member is, my kid, but my kid is a teenager now. And so there's a lot of self-sufficiency there where we do kind of in some ways interact as though we're roommates in that
Hmm.
like he's responsible for his space. We, hang out sometimes to watch TV, but he's gotten to that age where it's like mom who a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so, it's like one of those things of like we exist in the same space, but we're both neurodivergent. So like we don't do family meal time.
Mm-mm.
We because we eat different things because we both have different sensory needs. We both have, you know, like I have misophonia, so I can't stand the sound of someone eating with me. So I'm like, go to your room and eat that. Like I don't want to hear you chew. And so it's like we interact in the same space,
Yeah.
but it's very much like, yeah, I will parent you when you need parenting,
Hmm.
but also like you are old enough to take care of yourself in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's tr yeah. It's very funny too because we like our other contender was second lead syndrome, which we both liked. Yes, we both like second lead syndrome, which I mean, it is kind of tropey too, like in a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
for some reason, it just didn't like it didn't fit or it didn't feel right or like I don't know.
I think one of like I feel like we had two kind of big issues with that. And one of them was the logo just was not logoing. Like there was not a good
Yeah,
way to make the logo happen on that one. Because we discussed logo ideas for quite some time on all of our contenders.
yeah,
And that was just like we were like, I don't know. And
yeah.
then we
What do we
kind of
do?
like I drafted some like really janky Canva logos of like, this is an idea of what it would look like if we could like get it done properly so you can like visualize it, but it was like not good.
I think it was hard too because like we wanted to incorporate the like arrow and ace colors as well. And that was hard to figure out like how do you do because we were thinking of like, oh, we can have, a silhouette of a person and this and that. But it's like,
Mhm.
how do you put all those things together? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
It was, I think we were trying to do the most and it just wasn't working.
No.
And then I feel like, I mean, second lead syndrome in a lot of ways is very deeply rooted in like K media and things like that. Like you don't see discussions of that as much in
Hmm.
Western media. So I think there was that nice thing of like it fit the theme of what we were talking about with us leaning more toward Asian media in our deep dives. But at the same time, I think I kind of feared that there might need to be more of an explainer
Yeah.
to people who are like just now getting into that media and aren't familiar with the term. And it's like, it almost felt like there needed to be an episode that's just like, this is what this even is.
Yeah. I do think too, like as we were working on the name, like and the concept in general, we did want to keep it like light and kind of fun and silly because I'm like, we're not that serious. Like we don't take anything that serious. And like it didn't make sense to have a title, have a name that felt more serious. So I think,
Yeah.
and they weren't roommates, like it just felt a little silly because it was like, what? Like that's not the right sentence. Like it just felt like kind of off, but not in a bad way.
Well, like if you think about the original Vine is still like, oh my God, they were roommates
Yeah.
kind of vibe, like where that like and they were roommates kind of tagline kind of thing comes from, where we're like subverting that and being like, and they weren't roommates, which plays into like the themes of aceness, the fact that we aren't roommates, the tropes of versions that we love so much, but also it's sort of like it was very lighthearted in a big
Hmm.
way, and we wanted something I think super lighthearted. Um, but it's just one of those things of like to me it fit really well in a way that like second lead syndrome did feel a lot heavier.
Yeah.
Because if you look at our DMs to each other, it's largely just like loud flailing
I
and
know.
links. And
Yeah.
so like we send each other things, and so it's like the three things our DMs consist of is like key smashes, the eyes emoji, and you have to see this kind of vibes.
Hmm.
And so we don't take ourselves that seriously ever.
We don't. We really don't. And I think it made sense to have something that was more kind of funny, like on the cusp of like meme, but not really. Like it was
Yes.
sort of there. Because I mean, I feel like a lot of it too is like we send each other like the funny little memes or like oh, I'm watching this show and guess what? They were roommates. Or like we're always doing that to each other. Like, oh, you would like this because of insert trope, like insert silly thing. Like, oh, they have talking plushies, whatever. Right?
Yes. Well, and also like this is going to sound terrible. It kind of dates us in a way because like that is an older reference, an older meme, an older everything. And like I feel like a lot of people in this space are much younger and that's great. I love that for them. I think their energy is amazing. I have so many like people in this space that I am a huge fan of, but it's also like it is very clear that you are 20 years old, and I think
Yeah.
that's awesome, and you bring such a cool perspective. It is very clear we aren't 20 years
I
old.
think this is a big thing too, because when we do look at, when we analyze a show or talk about a show with each other, like our perspective tends to be very different from the majority simply because of our age. Like simply because I think once you get a little bit older and you start to see things a bit differently, just in life generally, like how you look at things going on in a show changes a lot.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Because, like, when I look at a lot of the creators that I look to when it comes to content, or like I go on Tumblr and I see the things that people are saying and things like that, a lot of times their perspective lines up with what my kid is saying about a show, and that's awesome. But I also sit there and think, oh, my kid is closer in age to these creators than I am. Like, I have a whole kid that could be creating content
Yeah.
in this space that is closer to their age. And so I feel like there is kind of that gap. And so it makes sense that we would pick a like title or name for ourselves that is like built on dead media.
I do think that's like I do like part of it too, I think is really fair because realistically a lot of our episodes are going to be about old shows because like
Yes.
we're watching a lot of back. This is what I've noticed when trying to like think about oh, top 2025 releases or best shows that you've watched this year. A lot of the things I watch are backlist titles. Like I'm not watching everything that's coming out when it is coming out.
No. And we both also have a tendency to rewatch comfort shows,
Mhm.
and we both have a tendency to watch, and this is maybe not the same thing, but like we watch things with older protagonists. Like
Yeah.
the number of shows that we'll message each other and be like, "Oh my gosh, the protagonist is 40. Isn't this
Yeah.
amazing?"
And
And
that's like
it's
a
like
big deal.
we get so excited when it's like an older character who is the center of the story.
Hmm.
And so I think it's just that perspective that we're like, hey, by the way, also we are older.
I do think too, like because we're a little bit older, like we are coming from, growing up not having access to a lot of it. Like a lot of queer media didn't, like I surely didn't have access to that growing up. I had a handful of shows. So
Mhm.
your perspective on it now, I think, changes because you didn't have access in the first place. Like the idea of,
Yes.
oh, this show isn't very good. Oh, the budget is low. It's like, to me, I'm just happy it exists because we had like four shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I distinctly remember my family had cable, but not very many extra channels. And there was like one time when we had like gotten a special package that gave us a few extra channels for a limited time. And I had been flipping through channels late night and saw the L word. And I like remember standing at my TV, not even at my remote because I was afraid I couldn't turn it fast enough, standing at my box TV,
Hmm.
like with my finger on the channel button, watching it on mute with the captions on, being like, I don't want my mom to know I'm watching this if she walks in, like I'm going to be in so much trouble. And like watching it, and it was the first queer media I had ever properly seen. It was the
Hmm.
first interaction I had ever had with like seeing two women kiss, seeing any queerness at all. And like my fear of getting caught balanced with like, I really want to see what happens here was so big. And then like a month later, of course, that promotion ended and we lost the channel. And so it's
Yeah.
not like I could get invested in watching the show, but it was like, oh my gosh, there's two women kissing on my screen. And that's like a thing that people can do.
Hmm.
And that's okay because like my experience was like evangelical sex ed books that were like this is inappropriate and homosexuality is wrong and like you will burn in hell
Yeah.
and so it was like I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. I feel so weird seeing this." And it's like, "Well, yeah, you're a whole ass queer. Like this is why you feel weird seeing this.
But I think it
Like you
makes
feel
such
seen."
a impact because like when we're watching certain things, I think we see, especially things that are maybe a little bit like, problematic or toxic or on the cusp of being like, they're not the wholesome, like happy-go-lucky shows. I think how we see it is going to be a bit different because like my first experience was watching Queer as Folk and like that show has a lot of issues if you looked at it at the from the lens of today, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on in that show, but that influences how we're going to see things that we watch now because we're
Yeah.
coming from a place where we didn't have that exposure or especially like Queer as Folk, I feel like was very kind of raw and realistic into what the gay community was like at the time that it was made. So you're
Yeah.
seeing things very differently than like what we get now, because it's obviously a very different world now.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of times our only exposure was problematic exposure. Um, and like I remember if I did see queerness on my screen outside of like a show like The L Word, it would be like Donahue bringing out people who were like cross dressers and being like,
Hmm.
how can you dress like this? What's going on? And
Hmm.
like sometimes it was shown in like a positive light of like I'm embracing my true self, but it was always from the lens of everyone in my life wanted me to come on the show because they disagree with my
Yeah.
lifestyle choice. And so it's like I feel like media has come so far, but also has squeaky cleanified itself to a point that it's like if you see problematic rep, it's like that can't be problematic. And it's like, no, but like sometimes the community itself is
I mean,
problematic.
people are toxic and problematic a lot. Like
Yes.
nobody is perfect. People are making mistakes all the time. Like it's
Yes.
realistic that that could happen, or that there are people who are, doing things that maybe are not a great choice.
I think that's why, and this is like completely off the topic of names, I think that's why I always fight so hard for Boston from OnlyFriends and being like, when I see him on a red flag list of like red flag characters, I'm like, I will fight you because he was always transparent about what he was doing. He was
It's
always
true.
transparent that he wasn't monogamous. He was always transparent about like who he was. Like, yeah, he did some crappy things, but he didn't lie a whole lot about it. Like, yeah, he went after his friends' partners. He also wasn't big on hiding that fact.
Hmm.
Like, he was flat out, I'm gonna do this, and he did it. And it's like, he's not a red flag. He's a yellow flag at best. And he is like a problematic college kid figuring out
Yeah.
his queerness in a situation where he can't be open about his queerness because his parent is a political figure in a semi-homophobic area.
Yep.
Like,
And his friends are not that great.
yeah, his friends are all toxic too. That was an oops, they're all toxic kind of show.
But I do think that is like a perspective from being a bit older and having a different exposure, like a different base of knowledge, Because like
Yeah.
we're seeing it very differently than I think a lot of fans are seeing it, which is fine. Like everyone can take whatever they want from media. But I think
Yes.
that rolls into like why it kind of made sense for us to have this little like jokey title, but also kind of referencing something that's, an
That's older.
older like thing that's maybe not really used in the same way anymore.
Yeah, and that's where like when I say like we're older and I watch these other things and like you can tell they're like a product of their age, that's not even disparaging. I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I love that you have gotten to grow up in a world that gives you the perspective that you have. I love
Hmm.
hearing your take because I like getting to see a take that's so far removed from like my own experience with queerness and everything, my own experience with that age and everything. And so, like, that is not even a disparaging thing. It's just like very much this is a product of who we are.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted a title that reflected that,
Hmm.
which is what makes it like, it very much felt like striking gold on the first try. Like, you were like, and they weren't roommates. And it's like, let's explore other options. Nope, that's the one.
Yeah. And I mean, luckily it worked out because I think the other titles that we had as options like didn't really fit, and for some reason that one just felt silly enough, but like clear enough about what it was that it
Yeah.
worked. And then I think also part of it is like that might give you kind of an idea of what you're going to expect from us. Like, we're not going to be that serious about things. We
No.
might have an opinion that you don't agree with because we're older and just look at it very differently, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing is like we're going to have perspectives that I think are going to be controversial at times, but I think that's okay. I think it's
Yeah.
okay for us to bring something to the table that maybe not everyone's going to agree with.
Yeah. I mean, between age and Arrow and Ace like opinions and feelings about things. Like we're not going to be in the same, wavelength as some other people who are talking about the same shows just because we're not
Yeah.
looking at the same things or we're not coming from the same background or the same place to see it in that way, which is fine.
Yeah, I feel like when we analyze a show, it's very much from like we're looking a lot of times at the choices in clothing, the choices in setting, the choices in music, and not so much like, oh my gosh, why wasn't there like more smut in the scene and things like that, which
Yeah.
again, valid when people want like to discuss the smut factor, and I think we will also discuss that.
Hmm.
It's more that like, and they weren't roommates very much brings to the table the fact that we are coming from that Ace and Arrow lens. Like, I feel like when I watch a kiss on screen, I look at it from an artistic lens.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know why I tried so hard to emphasize the word R in that word of artistic lens. So I didn't sound like I was saying autistic because I feel like I also emphasize that I watch it from a very autistic lens also.
Yeah. We do see, I think we do look at things a lot from like a cinematic and like artistic lens
Yes.
generally. Like I think that's kind of usually like I know a lot of times I'll like talk to you like, oh, this scene, and then I'm like, but this scene was so beautiful and the lighting and the color. And like I'm not even
Yeah.
talking about, oh, they kissed. I'm like, no, 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 no. The
Yeah.
lights, the the angles, it was shot in one
Yeah.
shot over 4 minutes and they didn't take a break. Like I'm talking about that stuff, not
Yeah.
the
Like, did you see the fact that the handrail was painted red and it's very red string of fate that brought them together because of
yeah.
the history of this in the scene? Like, this location in the rest of the show's context and everything. And
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all the rambling to say is we picked the name because we are not roommates.
not roommates.
We would never fall for a roommate.
No, definitely not.
And it was kind of silly. And we like to talk about tropes.
Yes. And we're old and love dead media like actual
Yeah.
physical CDs, which we talk about in an episode that will come out before or after this. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, and shows that have
And
been, oh, that have
yeah,
finished airing like 10 years ago or
yeah,
whatever. Like my favorite shows have not been on the TV for a very long
yeah.
time.
I was gonna say I will talk about Ken Porsche till the day I die, regardless of what's going on. I literally sent you a message about Ken Porsche this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just talk about old dead
Yeah,
media forever. Pretty
why not?
much.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that gives everyone a feel for who we are and
Hmm.
why we're and
Explains
they weren't roommates.
exactly, explains the name. Now you know. Now you know
Yeah.
why we have this silly little name.
Yeah, why we are. Well, I don't think anyone can understand why we are the way we are.
No, no, no.
Like, but they can understand who we are to some
Yes.
degree.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're at the point where you're watching this video, whether it's your first one or you've been keeping up with us, like
Yeah.
subscribe,
Yeah,
like, comment anything about anything. I don't know, what's your favorite old show that hasn't been on TV in like 10 years? Like
exactly.
tell me, what you're watching now. What are you into? Do you watch old shows too, or do you only watch the new stuff? Like tell us
Yes.
everything.
Are you a rewatcher? Like, do you watch the same show multiple
Hmm.
times to see different things that you missed the first time?
Yeah. And if you like this kind of chaotic, rambly content that we've been doing, I am happy to have you in the community with us because that
Yeah,
means you were probably kind of like us too.
exactly. You cannot be our roommate also.
Exactly. Is that what we should call each other? Should we call our fans like not roommates? Like we need a fan.
Probably.
Oh, you know what? That's what you should do. In the comments, give us like a
Yeah.
fan name. Like what should we call
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, who are you to us?
yeah.
Oh, are you our neighbors? Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, they could be our neighbors. We could go all Mr. Rogers, be like, hi, neighbor.
You should be our neighbors.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm into it. Okay, tell us down
Yeah.
below what we should call you.
Yeah. Do you want to be our neighbors?
All right. Bye.
Bye.
And they were roommates.
Oh my God, they were roommates.